Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Lydia show. Today, we're going to be discussing a topic that I think has been really, really hot in the news. It's affected me personally because I have children, and I'm sure that the both of my guests here, Karin Caro, the CEO of Blue Chip Marketing, and the brains behind the Daily Blue, and Mike McDermott, Libertarian Party candidate for governor for New York State back. What year was that? That was
last year.
Just last year.
All the way back then.
We're going to find out all about Common Core and determine, what is that phrase? Rotten to the Common Core. Is it or is it not? So the first thing I want to do is I just wanted to describe here what I found as being the definition of what Common Core is. So the Common Core State Standards Initiative is an educational assembly, not sure exactly what that means, but that's the definition here, in the United States that details what K through 12 students should know in English language arts and mathematics at the end of each grade. And then one more sentence, the initiative is sponsored by the NGA, which is the National Governors Association, and the Council of Chief State School Officers, and seeks to establish consistent educational standards across the states, as well as ensure that students graduating from high school are prepared to enter credit-bearing courses at 2 or 4 year college programs or to enter the workforce. As far as I'm concerned, that sounds really good, right? How can any parent possibly disagree with this concept? What do you think, Karin?
Well, I think, first of all, thanks for having me here, because Mike and I have had this discussion numerous times, including last year when Common Core first came up in our school systems. Mike and I had an in-depth conversation when he was running for governor, and I supported Common Core to the level that I felt it was just introduced. It seemed our teachers were, at least in my school, responding to it in a way that the kids should take the test. There were very few students that opted out, and I felt we needed to give it a chance. Mike and I discussed it heavily, and he absolutely knew a lot more about it. But again, I stood on the ground that we should not go against our school districts. We should, as parents, be aligned with what the schools are suggesting for our children, and our kids all took the test. All 4 of the kids took the tests.
As did mine, by the way.
This year, it's a different situation, obviously, and a lot of what Mike said that at that time has been proven to be true, and what I have learned with a lot of research, discussions, and educating myself and my children is that Mike really did have a very insightful opinion about it. And this year, 3 of our 4 children did not take the tests based on lots of facts and evidence, including major organizations not supporting it, including the teachers really not supporting it.
Right.
At that time, what it seemed like they were just handcuffed to a system that they had to. And now the teachers who are not part of the tests, not part of the research, not part of the grading system, but their jobs are on the line if they're not going to be teaching the system. That speaks in volumes to me.
Well, see, you're bringing up an interesting point, and I promise you, Mike, I know you have so much information to give, but I, as a parent, am very frustrated because I feel that there's so many components to Common Core that many of us don't really realize that this isn't just about, having high standards for our schools and for our children. How could you disagree? It's a great thing.
Sure.
But I think the problem comes in when you have, number one is the curriculum. What information needs to be taught? What are the standards? And then number 2 is the evaluations, and how do we determine whether our children are actually reaching those standards? Which, one of the things that I read, which was so frustrating to me. Now, I have a child, my youngest is in 8th grade going into high school, and we opted out this year for the ELA, so she didn't take that. So when I was looking, my research disclosed here, this was just crazy. I'm reading a 6th grader, so this is 2 years younger than my daughter. So in 6th grade, they're what, 11 or something?
They're
Right?
12.
11 or 12. All right, the 6th grade test has consistently come under fire, especially when one of the articles that was in this exam is called Nimbus Clouds, Mysterious, Ephemeral, and Now Indoors. And they took this article, this was on the test. I just want to read it to you because I'm like, what the heck? What are you talking about? As a result, the location of the cloud is an important aspect, as it is the setting for his creation and part of the artwork. In his favorite piece, Nimbus d'Espermont, the architect of the d'Espermont Linden Castle in Riechem, Belgium, plays a significant role in the feel of the picture. The contrast between the original castle and its former use as a military hospital and mental institution is still viable, he writes. You could say the spaces function as a plinth for the work. What the heck were they talking about? I mean, look, I'm an attorney. I do contracts. I interpret things. When I read that to you, are you looking at me like, what is she reading?
Yeah.
That's for a
Check out.
6th grader. They're supposed to read that and answer some kind of questions about that.
What's a plinth, by the way?
Beats the crap out of me. Is that a beep? Am I going to get buzzed out?
No, I mean, I'd love to hear Mike's perspective on it, but it is a very, when you have children, and it's now, I think, become a social issue, because when all of these kids are opting out, and we have spent a ton of money on this, and it's not even over with how much we need to spend, and with training, with new equipment, with computers, there's so much that we have to spend.
But and then I'm going to get to Mike, because he has a whole different perspective on this. But suffice it to say, it appears that the concept, in theory, is great. We want to have our kids educated, and we want to make sure we know that they are in fact being educated, all children. However, based upon just that passage alone, and I did see there's a lot of teachers that are sharing information about how the standards and the test, they're not jiving. The test, which is prepared by, I think it's Pearson, which is the largest educational company in the world, and they make, I mean, just money. The amount of money that they make is just nuts.
Well, let's not forget about the Gates.
Well, see, that's where you're going to, Bill Gates? Well, he's going to talk about that in a second, but suffice it to say, in my opinion, again, at this stage of our discussion, I think that the testing has to be changed. And a lot of people are talking about the implementation, that the tests have to be more reflective of the standards, as opposed to, let's say, an SAT test that they're trying to say, these are the really smart kids, these are the okay kids, and these are the kids not so smart. Meaning from an educational point of view, for college. So they have to be super difficult. These tests shouldn't be that.
Even still,
Yeah.
This doesn't help creativity, and it also, how is it fair for certain economic areas that maybe don't have the ability to have teachers that are at the standard, or it kind of is controlling what teachers are supposed to teach in the classroom, and how does that relate?
Right. Well, when we come back after this commercial break, we're going to be speaking with Mike, who has a completely different perspective. So we'll see you in a minute.
Hey Larry, every week I watch your show.
As you should.
And I know so much about sports now. Thank you.
You should be learning about sports, and everybody should be watching all our other shows here on the Daily Blue.
Why are you promoting the other shows? I thought you were the king of the Daily Blue.
That's true, but I'm all about everybody. It's not always all about me.
No, it really
about
is.
The team.
Every day I wake up and it says, today is all about me, Karin. Don't
I've
lie.
heard that.
Don't lie. Tune in every week to the Daily Blue, and you'll see Sports Biz with LD, and you will get a lot of information, updates in sports, and a little bit about Sports Biz.
And that's me, Larry Davis, Sports Biz with LD.
So, Mike, we, you're saying that Bill Gates and the big corporations in the government are looking to take control of the education system. What support or proof or evidence do you have that does support that position?
He said it. He wants to have control over it. It's big corporations wanting to increase their bottom line. The more computers that they sell to the school district. Cuomo,
They're buying them anyway, aren't they? They're still buying them.
Not
Whether
to
they
the
be Macs or
extent.
PCs.
No. We're talking about complete control. Right now, I was on a school board in Hauppauge from 86 to 88 or something like that. And it was a big problem with mandated curricula from the state telling you what you have to do. And we would always fight it. We had, AIDS education came in at that time, and they were teaching 6th and 7th graders how to masturbate with and without partners. I'm not kidding. And we were trying to deal with these.
This is all brought to you by the Board of Regents, and this is all approved by
the state. Oh yeah, it was a mandated curriculum, and if you're mandated to do it and you don't do it, you don't get funding. So it's all about the money. It's always been about the money. And that was the 80s. Right. Now we're in a completely different era.
Well, that's the same with Common Core, by the way, because President Obama had given certain incentives to the individuals who actually
it's all
did
about
sign
the
up.
money.
And the states were given incentive to adopt the Common Core standards through the possibility of competitive federal race to the top grants that they were also getting.
Yep.
And then they were giving extra points in their race to the top applications if they adopted the standards by August 2nd of 2010.
That sounds like bribery to me. I mean, if
Well,
you're going to
incentive.
get an incentive for doing something, and isn't it an amendment that the federal government isn't to interfere? I think it's the 10th Amendment. The federal government isn't supposed to interfere with the state's education.
Well, when we get into this, states are sovereign. That's the way it's designed to be. The states are sovereign. That means the federal government
Can't.
is there only to promote the
Right.
common defense. It's gone way beyond that. We've lost all sense of what the Constitution was about.
Right.
But to stick with Common Core, it's really a very good example as to why there's such a problem. And what's happening right now is in third grade, which was 2 years ago, my daughter Grace was the only child in her school to refuse to take the test.
Right.
And then they called it opt-out. Now it's
Right.
not opt-out, now it's you have to refuse. I mean,
Right.
they make it every year a little bit different. And I
Why
asked
did
her...
you? Why? Why did you opt out though? Why?
Well, I asked her, why? Because somebody told her that she didn't have to take the test if she didn't want to. Well, that was enough for her right there.
Right.
But then she said, but Daddy, they're teaching, the test is on subject matter, because they had practice.
Yes.
That we've never been covered.
That is correct.
That was
No,
fifth
that
and
is
sixth grade
absolutely correct.
education
Yes.
teaching the third grader. So why are they doing that? Well, obviously the third grade is not going to do very well,
Right.
which means they're not doing well. The teachers that are teaching them are not doing very well because they didn't teach them that information. So she says, I'm not taking the test. And her mom and I had a discussion about it, and we decided for her not to take the test. They did everything they could. They made her sit alone. They made her feel like she was the only one, which she was.
Back then.
And fortunately, my daughter, because of my running for office and doing all these things, she's very, she's not one you want to really go up against. And she was 8. Now she's 10. And this last year, there were 5,600 students along with her not taking the
Well,
test.
81,000 on Long Island.
I'm
Plus,
talking about
81,000 plus.
just
Yeah.
our little school district.
Right.
But yeah, 81,000. It was something like between 55 and 65% of the kids refusing to take the test.
Right.
Now, why? And I know I'm not answering your question like bullet points, but what I'm trying to explain, which I think is critical, is that it's not mandatory to take the test. You are allowed to
understand.
opt out. However, in ComSwag just recently, a ComSwag teacher told the kids they have to take the test, 11th grade English. They
That's
have
ridiculous.
to.
Right.
One child said no, but they were really trying to force them, and by lying, not telling the truth, that they had to take the test.
All right, but we're kind of straying a little bit because my objective here is I want to educate the audience on what is the Common Core. Why are parents opting out? Do they even understand
That's
why
what I
they're
think the
opting out?
problem is,
Because
yeah.
one of the things that you said that was very true and poignant was that it's become a social topic.
Right.
And you just mentioned that your daughter was the only one sitting out. Now, if you don't opt out, your kid's the only one taking the test. It's the opposite
I mean,
now.
it becomes a
And-
social issue that if your
Correct.
child is taking the test or wasn't taking the test,
Right.
that, they're going to feel,
feel ostracized, or that your mom didn't or dad didn't opt you out.
yeah,
What
what's
are you
wrong
talking
with you?
about? And then you
Right.
ask them the question, well, why are you opting out? What's the problem?
They don't
have
know.
no idea.
Right, they
So
don't
that's
know.
where I wanted to present that information, and I think all of us are really presenting that to
Yeah, of
to
course.
our viewers. But you started to talk about something that I still, as I'm sitting here, haven't received any information as to, other than saying it's money, which it's always about money. But why do you
And
think that it's
control.
about control and charter schools? You mentioned also.
Right, well, because
Where does that come in?
Charlotte Iserby was the Secretary of Education under Ronald Reagan, and that's when Common Core started. She was involved in that. I mean, you didn't know about it then. They were just talking about it and working on it from Ronald Reagan, right?
Well, in the 90s, that's when they said that the
Yeah.
movement actually started.
Well, but it wasn't a movement. They started talking about it before then. They had it built up to what they
Yeah.
should do.
Okay.
And if you want to look at where it all came from, you're talking
Yeah.
about from overseas and a New World Order and trying to make.
Well, I'm just saying here, and in
I
the
mean, there's a lot
90s, the
involved.
Standards and Accountability movement started in the U.S. back in the 90s. That's I'm just saying. So I'm sure that it predates that to, centuries before that. It's always been a
But
topic.
so what they're doing with the Common Core is to try to make you parents focus on the actual education, while you're being distracted by that, which is what we're talking about. Because you didn't want to talk about the charter schools because you're focused on this and how can we improve this, which I understand. But that's by design. These are very smart people, Bill Gates and the rest of them, the ones that want the control. They want you to be focused on this, and they give you the option to opt out of the tests. And what's going to happen next year or the year after? Well, all of a sudden, there's not going to be that option.
Right.
You have to take the test.
Well, that has to be done by statute.
I'm forecasting that this is the next step.
Well, I don't agree with you because you've seen in the news
time will tell.
that all of the states are now pulling out and they're opting out
because parents are starting to
Well,
learn
New
more and
Jersey,
more about
It's
Christy,
not just
you have-
parents, but
and teachers. Teachers are totally against it.
Well, they're against
NICET came out.
But that's different because they're against it because I personally spoke to my daughter's math teacher. My daughter's in 8th grade taking out the Regents exam, right, in June. And my daughter's very frustrated because the Regents exams that they're taking now, the teacher herself on the phone told me that there is material that they have not covered yet that will be on that test, and it's very frustrating. And sometimes, even if they discuss it, touch upon it, they need time to learn it, digest it. How are they supposed to learn all of this and take an exam that's, that just hasn't been taught in school? So I can understand how the teachers are frustrated because then their low scores will be a reflection on them, and it shouldn't be. Because the
that's why they're against
tests are not necessarily quantifying their effectiveness, right? On how
can you be a
good you are.
teacher? How can you be a teacher? If you're really a good teacher and someone is struggling,
Right.
then you stop everything and you sit with that student and you try to relate to them. And this testing,
Right,
I don't think
exactly.
allows for that or
Right.
allows for any level of creativity.
Right, I agree with that as well.
Let me give you an
So-
example of what I believe. My daughter, let's just say, and this is not my daughter, but your daughter, anybody's daughter, she really wants to be a hairdresser. She wants to own a beauty salon. She wants to take care of makeup, Gracie with her little black makeup box. And that's what she wants to do. But by taking these tests and scoring on them, she might be an excellent doctor. Well, the state wants her to be the doctor that they need, not the hairdresser that she wants. And that's where we're going way beyond what's
I
happening.
understand that, though,
but what's
yeah.
going to happen if we don't stop it, and I think we will stop it, is my daughter wants to be a hairdresser, and that's good. I want her to do what she loves, not what the state needs.
Of course.
Right? And we all feel that way.
Right.
But that's something like you think of in 1984, that it's in the book,
Right.
But we are really approaching that, and it's
Right.
scary to me.
Hold that thought. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking about creativity, choices that students are making, technology, tech, people who aren't necessarily going to be the doctors and the lawyers and the Indian chiefs of the world. So we'll be back in a minute.
Hello everyone, I'm Karin Caro, and I'm the founder of TheDailyBlue.com. The Daily Blue is all about spreading positive news about Long Islanders, and we want to hear from you. Tell us your stories. Our show hosts are waiting to hear from you. Sponsor an ad or advertise with us. Call us now, 631-761-9223.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Everything Lydia Show. My guest today, Karin Caro, Mike McDermott. So the last thing we discussed was you were mentioning creativity and that, hypothetically speaking, if your daughter, who's so young at this point, she probably doesn't know, but her passion is makeup and hair. And these tests are certainly not the tests that are going to help her in that regard and let her follow her passion because these tests, I guess, want everyone to be scoring high to show our academics are just I guess they want us all to be Renaissance people such as ourselves, but the kids all can't be great at math and great at English, and maybe they can, maybe they can't. It doesn't, certainly harbor creativity.
I think that what we have here today is for you and I, even from a legal perspective and a parental perspective, or of course I'm a very creative person. If I was put in a box, or even a couple of my children were put in a box,
Right.
How would that be fair? I mean, I want to foster
Right.
creativity and that they could be the
Whatever
CEOs
their
of
passion is,
companies
correct.
that's based on creativity.
Yeah.
And from the political perspective, of course, I appreciate that. But I think that the one thing that we can certainly deduce here is that there are a number of people that are absolutely against this, and that should raise concerns.
Right.
And of course, I would like to hear your predictions.
Well, right now, the children are opting out because they're allowed to opt out. Even though some of the teachers and administrators are telling them they can't opt out, they're lying to them so that they take the test.
Right.
Because they want them to take the
Right,
test.
they
And
can.
because they're mandated by their higher ups. No, you can't talk about it. I've talked to teachers who told me what they're supposed to say.
Predictions. You're
And
going
then
to, come on.
you gotta let me tell me my own prediction. She did it again.
killed him.
No. Teachers will tell you privately what they
Right.
really feel about this.
They will.
Right.
That's true.
They will.
They will not say
But
it
they
in a
won't say
public setting.
that they don't know who's watching. I
Right.
mean, this is where this is all coming in. But one prediction is that there's been a lot of victories claimed by the anti-Common Core people because so many students are now opting out and so many parents are aware of this.
Right.
Right.
And they're opting out because they're allowed to opt out. Well, the first prediction is that next year or the year after, the state is going to not have that opt-out option. You know, I mean, if we don't succeed in just getting rid of this blight on our education,
Right.
then they're going to be mandated to take it.
Right.
Now, what do parents do? You know, I mean, more kids will take the test because parents are afraid of the state, and
Sure.
they think they can trust the education system just because it's the education system. When really we have to be ever vigilant on our child's education, and we as parents have to stay in control.
Okay, so that's
what
one
will
prediction,
happen?
Mike. I love you, but you got tell me the predictions. I'm not,
If you could stop for a
come
second,
on.
I will.
I am. I'm trying.
My
You
prediction
keep-
is
yes, that's number.
that when I have to repeat it again, but
Right, they're gonna
mandate that you have to take
correct.
the
That's
test. A lot
one.
of
What other
parents-
predictions?
No, that's not the prediction. The prediction is when they do that,
Yes.
now parents have to be faced with what do we do?
Okay.
And what you're going to see is parents coming down to the schools and sitting there, having the old sit-ins like we had in the 60s, having the sit-ins, and really it's going to raise the level of antagonism with the government and the state.
Okay.
And then we're going to have to force our legislators who don't give a crap about anybody. See, that's loosely speaking.
Yeah.
But what's happening? What will happen is now parents the parents that really know what's going on with the Common Core are going to raise it to a higher level. What happens then? What is the end game? Well, like Charlotte Isabey said, the charter school and what you were studying is just a distraction. The end game is to have charter schools. It's not the name charter school, which people may be confused with, this private school. It's talking about a large corporation and government cooperation, kind of like the Federal Reserve with the banks and the government. And what's going to happen is that we're going to have less public education. Public education will be charter schools, and that way there will be no local school boards. There'll be no local input. You're going to be taught what you're taught, and that's going to be it. You're not
I
going to
don't
have
think
a choice.
that's ever going to happen. I don't.
Well,
I'm
sure
like
a
I
lot
said,
of people in
yeah.
1938 said the same thing. It would never happen.
Possibly.
I could be
I'm
wrong.
just saying that. But even if you're wrong, that would be great if
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah, let's
But
take it from.
what if I was right? When are you going to say, well, I'm not going to permit that? Well, you know what? You should say right now, I'm
Well, I
not going
think-
to permit that.
I think I agree with that. I think that what you're saying, even if there's the possibility that is what's happening, which we can agree to disagree, but if that is happening, we all have to join together and make sure that doesn't happen.
Let's
So,
say from
I
an
do agree.
optimistic perspective, I think that that what teachers are pushing is that teachers actually write a common standard that some children can take with reasonable exploration of creativity and expansion on that. And I also think that there should be research that's involved. I mean,
Yes.
who wrote these tests and where's the research is
Exactly.
what the real issue is.
Right. Exactly.
So from an optimist to
Just let teachers teach. I mean, that's what I'm proposing. Let teachers teach.
But I do think
And
that
with,
there needs.
with parental input and control.
Yes.
Large, being mainly with the parents.
I have no problem with evaluations to make sure our students are in fact achieving certain standards. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I think that teachers do have to be tested or held
sure.
accountable.
There are
for-
bad teachers and
Correct.
there's bad
Right.
everything. But
So really, again, in a perfect world, in our utopia, all of this sounds really, really good. But I love, first of all, I apologize for interrupting, but I am getting to I wanted to know to the point, your 2 points that you made, just to summarize, is number one, you think your prediction is what was your prediction, number one, if just in one sentence?
That the choice to opt out will be taken away.
Okay, and then
Okay.
secondly is what?
Well, then we're going to have a battle on our hands
Okay.
with parents that know what's going on. And then the
Right.
second thing is,
That
if
there's
they
going
get
to
away
be
with
sit-ins,
that,
there's going to be a lot of...
but if they
yeah.
get away with that,
Okay.
they being the government and the big corporations,
Yeah.
then they're going to try to take public education and local control
Right.
away from us. They're doing it now.
Yeah.
State mandated curricula is already in place for many, many years, for the last 20, 30 years. And they push and push and push to mandate the school district to do certain things or they don't get funding.
Right.
So it's all this power play
Always.
over
It's
money.
always been
It's
like
always
that.
about money. And I'm just saying that although teachers unions and I don't agree on a lot of things, on some things, we are in full agreement that Common Core has got to go, that teachers should be left to teach,
Right.
and parents should be in charge of their own children's education.
Well, hallelujah, amen, and all that good stuff. Thank you, Mike.
Then be vigilant.
I appreciate your thoughts, your opinion. You're very well versed in this. Way more information than I have. I've only done some preliminary research. Karin, as a mom, as a friend, as someone, we speak all the time. I know that we share that same philosophy, what you just said. We have to be involved, we have to be in control, but on the other hand, I don't want my child to have to take an exam where I'm reading this passage and I barely know what the heck they're talking about from 6th grade. So I think there's a happy medium. I think we have to keep talking about these issues, keep raising awareness, and we're gonna have. I think we should have a part 2 to do more research about the whole charter schools, about Bill Gates and whatnot.
And let's bring some people in that are really touched by this subject.
So the next show we're gonna have some experts.
It'd be great to find somebody actually in favor, truly in favor of Common Core.
We
I
want to
can't find them.
All right. Well, we're gonna find them. We're gonna hopefully find that person. So thank you everyone for joining in. If there's any part of this show that you might have missed or would like to see again, go to thedailyblue.com and look for the Everything Lydia show on the little drop down. And we welcome you to join us on Mondays at 2:30, and you'll either see a new show like today or you'll see a rerun, best of the Everything Lydia show. So remember to go check your ordinary at the door and go live that remarkable life, and we'll see you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.